Magazine, the Wall Street Journal, NBC, and many other publications. And now, the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Welcome to Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Brand new show this week. All kind of great stuff, interesting stuff going on this week. Huge news in terms of interest rates. Had a massive jump, hit a 14-year high this week. Well over 6%, almost 0.25% jump, really over 1 day. So we'll talk about that, what that means, and kind of what's going on with that. We have the brand new micro market numbers in. Very interesting. Here's the crazy part. One area up over 40%, another area down over 35%. So it's all over the map, which is why it's so important to have this detailed data to make better decisions. And as usual, we have one goal for you on this show. I've been doing this over 12 years, and that's just to give you great information regarding real estate here on the Grand Strand, so you can make better decisions for one of your largest assets, which is real estate. So we'll dig in those numbers, go over that. We're also just kind of cap on the macro market numbers for you guys, because they're interesting as well. Decline in prices as well as decline in sales. So that's very interesting to look at back to back overall with that. We had some stuff on last week's show we just didn't have time to get to. I think this may be important, hopefully. One of those was just kind of a national number breakdown where Zillow said housing prices dropped for the first time in a decade overall countrywide, which is kind of something we're seeing here. We did see a little bump here last month, though, which is good. So it bumped back up a little bit, which is great news. We've seen, obviously, the real-time data in terms of new properties going under contract go up, which has been awesome stuff there as well. We had also on last week's show this overall report that came out from the National Association of Realtors that says only 8% of realtors sold more than 4 houses in the first 6 months of the year, which is crazy, right? You're dealing with largest assets people, and most of the realtors that are selling it, 92% of them are not very good at what they're doing because they're only selling a couple houses a year. And so that's the same thing we see here in our marketplace. It's actually a little bit better than what we see here in our marketplace. We'll talk about that and what that is as well. We've had on the overall thing for the past few weeks, just haven't had time, as a real estate scholarship opportunity that we have. Our team's in massive growth mode while most agents are getting out of the business and backing down. We're doing what we always do, and that's doubling down our advertising. You see us everywhere: radio, TV, billboards, internet, and we're adding A players to our team. And part of that has been a struggle here in Myrtle Beach to find people that want to play at the level we play at. And we're willing to offer a scholarship for anybody to pay for your real estate license, pay for all your training, all that stuff to help you get in the business and really have a proven system to succeed. And that's something we'll talk about as well. And also, if we have time, hopefully you might, maybe not, had a really cool story from Coastal Carolina University this weekend, past weekend. I don't really talk about it much on my personal side, but played football there on the inaugural team 20 seasons ago, which is crazy. But it really kind of was just refreshing to go back and talk to teammates and my coach. And it really was interesting to see how all those disciplines and things that we went through at a high school and college level sports really kind of parlayed into business. And it was interesting. We talked about that, about being on time for every little thing, every little detail mattering. And so it's the same thing we transitioned into business, which is what allowed our team to be the number one real estate here in Myrtle Beach, and also the top 60 in the country, coming at number 58. So we'll talk about that really quick too. Also, anyone, if you want to go back and listen to these shows, you can always go back online to YouTube. We have streamed those on YouTube. We also stream those on Facebook, both under Sloan Realty Group as well as Blake Sloan. And we also put those into podcasts. The next week later, you can pull that in your favorite podcast service like Apple, Google, any of those other ones there, Anchor FM. Reach out to us. Any questions you have. We'll take a quick break. Right back in a second. Yes, and that's the whole reason why we do the show. I mentioned 12 plus years doing this, and it really comes down to it takes a lot of time, energy into it, putting everything together, and just doing it every week and coming up with new content. But the one thing I noticed just years ago, I think maybe 1 or 2 years in, it's like, man, it's always the same problem. They're always the same things you end up happening, and you hear the same horror stories just over and over and over. And it comes down to really the mistake that a lot of people make, a lot of consumers make, and the mistake is thinking that all real estate agents are the same, and it could not be any further from the truth, just like any doctor, any lawyer. And so I made a promise a while back to look, I'm going to talk about this on every single show because it's that important. And even we've had listeners who've listened to us for years they get pressured into using a friend, somebody who just got their license, whatever it is, or somebody who may be the cheapest option, whatever it is. And then all of a sudden, they have massive horror story. Property didn't sell, or it does sell. They left money on the table. And we just hear it over and over again. So I made a promise a long time ago. I said, look, we're going to talk about this every single week, just a little bit, because it's a great reminder, but it's more powerful than anything I'd ever share. I could share all kind of data, but it doesn't matter if they don't get the fundamentals. And here's the deal. The fundamental is the single most important variable that determines your failure or success as a home seller comes down to one thing only. That thing is the agent that you choose, period. Nothing else, right? Not the picture quality, not the agent name, none of that. Not the agent company. It's the agent name that matters, because it's how they actually execute A to Z. And what that means is when you're selling a property, it's 118 different variables from A to Z. If each one's handled correctly, it puts money in your pocket. Obviously, property gets sold. Anything's handled incorrectly, aka they drop the ball at any point, that costs you your hard-earned equity, or the property does not get sold. And people don't realize there's just so many details and nuances in terms of how things have to happen to get to that finish line in the right way. And so what we did is we sought out a system that's proven repeatable, that manages all those variables from A to Z. And those could be things like pricing strategy, negotiation strategy. How do you negotiate the home inspection strategy all the way to the closing table, all the way down to the picture quality, the order of the pictures. And here's the deal, right? Does your agent answer the telephone when a buyer calls that for sale sign? Shoot, we see a lot of agents who don't even have a for sale sign out there because they can't afford one. Or do they have a lot box on there, allow a certain time? There's all these details, right, that have to be handled. And so what I said, look, there's got to be a better way than the old school 8-track tape method, which is really the 3 Ps. Number one, they promise you will get the listing. Number two, they put it to MLS. And 3, they just pray that someone else brings a buyer, and they get 50% of commission. They're cool with that. And so that was really how the old school 8-track tape model has always worked. And I said, look, there's got to be a way to shake this up and do things differently. And so I was always a student in business, looked at businesses outside of real estate and say, look, they operate a certain way where it's the same thing every single time. They have a machine that kind of runs really with predictability. And that's one thing I wanted to bring to real estate. And so we sought out and said, look, what are the variables, first of all? And that's how we know there's 118 of them. Most agents don't even know what they are, or that there is 118 of them. And I said, how do we take people and systems and make sure that we can manage those proactively so that we can win before we start? So how can I manage these things here in this order to make sure I do the right things in the right order with people and technology to do one thing? And that thing is give my client a competitive advantage when they're selling a property, or the same thing when they're buying a property. And so that's why we developed that guaranteed sold system. It's the only proven system sells twice as fast and for up to 20% more money than traditional methods. And it works very, very, very well. And if you have to look at like just a story where let's say you have a marathon, right? People don't realize there's a long process in selling real estate. There's a long sales cycle when you're selling a house instead of buying a car or something like that. So look at it like a marathon. What happens is everyone takes off marathon. You have a shotgun start. Everybody starts running. It looks good. It looks cool. Everybody's together. But what happens is over time, you see them spread out. And what happens at the end, sometimes 2 and 3 and 4 hours ahead of other people. And it works very, very, very well for those that win. And so we do the same exact thing for the marathon of the home sales. How do we manage those variables? And we stack the dominoes to give you the client competitive advantage in the marketplace. And that's exactly what we do. Anytime we sit down with somebody, it absolutely blows their mind, especially on the seller side. On the flip side, when you buy a property, guess what? 100 plus variables on the buy side, and it makes or breaks the home purchase if they're handled correctly. A lot of times people can overpay for the house, or what happens many times as well is they miss out on getting the right one, or it could be even worse, a horror story. They buy something, has massive, massive issues. It costs, I've seen it bankrupt people buying the wrong property that did not have someone help them do the right due diligence. And all of a sudden they got stuck with a property they could not pay for, and they could not pay to get it fixed. And so we create a system to help give an advantage for our buyer clients out there called the Unfair Advantage Home Buying System. Get your property access to foreclosure, distress sales, desperate sellers, the absolute best negotiation and purchase price, as well as home inspection to make sure you come out on top. So if you listen to the show and take anything away, the thing that matters more than anything else when you're buying or selling real estate is the agent you choose. Just like if you're charged with a crime you did not commit, the last thing I want is some part-time attorney who's just tried a few cases. I want the absolute best experience, most aggressive attorney that specializes in that type of law to help protect me and my livelihood and my freedom. You should demand the same exact thing for one of your largest assets, which is real estate. So if you want to know more how that works, reach out, call me, 843-808-SOLD or BlakeSloan.com anytime. Here with my trusted friend in the real estate
somebody who spends money and gets the traction and traffic that you deserve.
And how would that impact my bottom line? That's what matters.
That massively impacts your bottom line because it brings more traffic, it brings more buyers, it creates bidding wars, but more importantly, it brings in the traction of buyers from out of town who see our value and are willing to come in and pay more money and top dollar for your property here along the Grand Strand.
All right, as always, thanks for the insight. Call Blake Sloan today at 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD. Or online at blakesloan.com. That's blakesloan.com.
Hi, I'm Barbara Corbett. I'm excited to connect with Blake Sloan, the only real estate agent in Myrtle Beach that I recommend. You offer several options to home sellers, which really takes away the stress.
That's right. For sellers at time crunch, you can agree to sell it by a certain date, take after a home, or even rent it.
That's great. And if the seller has a big more time?
Use our proven marketing plan and sell it for the highest price.
Work with my friend Blake Sloan and get the home sold on your terms.
Welcome back to the Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. All kind of crazy information coming in right now regarding real estate, what's going on. My job is to keep you up to date on that and kind of what's going on. We'll talk about the biggest news this week here in a minute, which is interest rates. Massive jump, 14-year high in terms of interest rates. And one thing that's really affected, and I've seen this in my investor groups across the country, second home investment properties way up. I saw some people being quoted in 7.5%, all kind of different things that we're looking at right now. So we'll talk about what that means. I'm going to look at the overall micro market today. I'll go through some of the key areas. I'm not going to go through all of them. If you want to know more about yours, you can always reach out to me in my office. We'll get that for you instantly. But here's the deal. Look at the overall macro market really quick to set the stage. So macro market, if you look at the last 3 months, is down 9.8% in terms of sales. So that's kind of something we usually do month versus month, but it is kind of skewed a little bit because last year, this time, it was doing pretty good, right? But the last few months since March, we've seen a decline. Like this year, we saw sales really max out in May of 2022 at 3,278 sales going on for that 3-month average here. Looking kind of what's going on. Sorry. Yep. And if you look right now, it's 29.42, down 9.8%, which is interesting, right? So if you go to the monthly, we really capped out right around March of that part at 1,200. Right now we're at 977, but basically we're down about 11% from the peak in terms of what homes we've seen sold month versus month. So we're down 2% from last year, but in reality, it's a little bit more than that. The good news is we bounced back up. So if you look at this past month, which is August, the August number is 977 homes sold. And in July, only 875. And that's really down from the peak, like you mentioned, in March of 1,200 in that one single month. And so that's just something we want to watch and see overall what's happening. Sales price, though, has been good. It's up 15.3% this year. But if you look at really the last few months, it's really flat in terms of median. We peaked out in May at 375,000. Right now, we're at 369. It's been bumping up and down overall. So June was 369, 205. Then it was 371, 245 in July, and then back down to 369 for median price. Now, here's the thing, though. Average sale price down pretty significant, right? It was overall, if you look at year versus year, it's up 9.9%, but we are seeing a decline since the peak, which we saw a peak in May. So peaked out in May at $449,350. Right now, we're down to $424. So you can see it did drop down from $449 to $424, about a $25,000 drop. We've seen some on the higher end be a little bit more just based on what we've seen. We've seen, obviously, the average sale price is a little more reactive than the median sale price, and it's something we'd like to watch to get some real-time data. Months of supply is up significantly, up 41.2% right now at 2.4 months inventory, up from the lowest point at 0.9 months inventory. And so that's just something interesting to watch. If you go back to last time, it was 2.4 months. It was right around December 2020. So that's just something we'll keep looking at as well. The one thing that is really kind of the key number I've been watching is buyer traffic, and it's showings per listing. So if you take all the listings in MLS, I like to watch how many buyers are looking at each listing. If you look at year versus year, it's down 20%. That's right in line with what we're seeing in terms of online traffic. Online traffic's down about 20, 25% year over year. And that's just because many buyers have gotten priced out, both of Myrtle Beach and also just purchasing in general. We're having to rent because they're priced out in terms of interest rates, what they can afford, prices of homes, things like that. So that's just something overall to watch in that terms. Really quick into condos, you look at the resale condos, they've been very, very interesting in terms of that. They're down 20% year over year, which is interesting. So peaked out in March at 804 condos in that one single month. It hit its lowest point in July at 515. But the good news is it's back up at 555. And I think some of that just came from that initial shock a few months ago and rates jumped up. Remember that one time they jumped almost a full point in 1 week, and people just really got a lot of sticker shock. And then what happened is they slowly went back down. We saw August rebound from that because people got back off the fence and started making some moves there, which is good. Sales price, average sale price year over year is up 25.6%, which is good, but it's still down from the peak. The peak was in May at 276,805. Right now we're at 262.33 for average sale price. Median price is up 33% from last year, but it did peak out in May at 240. Right now it's at 227. So you can see it's kind of been more really trending down. Some of that's more normalization where things should be, because if you remember a few months back, it was 44% year over year increase in prices. That's just not something that's sustainable overall. And so that's something to look at. Really quick, one thing I like to look at, and those are what we call the rear view mirror numbers. Those are what happened and closed last month. But yeah, I think if it closed in August, it went under contract 30 to 60 days prior. And so that's not really real-time data. So I like to look week versus week. So I'll keep you updated on that, and you can kind of keep track just like I do. But if you look at the last 7 days, there's been 532 properties under contract in our entire MLS area, which is good. And that's a lot better than last week. Last week was 493 under contract. So from 493 up to 532. Last week, the volume under contract was 177 million. This week, 187 million. So in the last 7 days, we've had $10 million more of the real estate go under contract versus the same period last week. So that's good news for us. Active properties also continues to increase. So in last week's show in Horry County for single family homes, there is 849 active. Right now, 856 active, which is good. So the average of 7 more versus last week. We're slowly seeing that climb up, and it's really leveled out. We saw a huge jump there a while back as rates jumped up initially, but we've seen that kind of level out where it's much lower in terms of that. What's interesting, though, to watch, I like to watch, we sell a lot of high-end properties, so I like to watch what's happening over $1 million. Last week's show, the previous 7 days, there was 11 properties over $1 million went under contract. This week's show, guess what? 12 properties over $1 million under contract. And that stayed pretty between 10 to 15 the last really 6 to 8 weeks. Last 7 days, 82 properties over 500,000 versus last week's show, 83 properties over 500,000. So it's really kind of staying pretty level, which is good. We have seen that bump, and I was very, very surprised to see that because I think we're seeing anything close to 200 million is great news for any home sellers out there, because it means that we're kind of defying the odds in a lot of areas across the country because there's so many people still relocating here. They're calling it the Great Migration, right? People from up north are angry with their governments, certain things, taxes, all this, and they're moving down here to a place like Myrtle Beach. And one of the things that we're getting a lot more from clients is just, hey, there's just more flexibility in terms of the ability to work remote. They can do other jobs. And once they kind of got opened up to that possibility, when some of those employers are having them go back, they're moving further south to find jobs elsewhere that they can work remotely. So been very, very interesting to say the least. So I'm going to jump in really quick to just a couple details of the micro market so you can kind of see some contrast. I'm not going to waste the whole show going through it, but very, very interesting. This is what I get the most feedback about. Myrtle Beach, 29572, 29577. Last month, sales are up 21.5% from the same time last year, which is good. The challenge is year-to-date sales of Myrtle Beach down 7.7%. Prices last month were pretty flat, so they're up 0.3% from the same time last year, from 440 up to 441, 460. Year-to-date's up 15%, but you are going to see that go down because that included January, February, March, when the market was still on fire. It started dying off about March. Condo sales in Myrtle Beach down 33.5% year over year, August versus August. Year-to-date down 8.3%. Check this out. The median price for August versus August for condos in Myrtle Beach up 42%. So 159.9 last year to 227 this year. And that's what I meant for sustainability. If you saw year-over-year growth like that, it's just not sustainable. People are getting priced out. So that's where we're seeing a little bit more of that normalization. Year to date, though, condo prices in Myrtle Beach are up 38.7% from 155 to 215, which is awesome. North Myrtle Beach, check this out. Sales up 44.9%. So last August 2021, there was 49 sales. This year, 71 sales. Year to date, those sales are flat. 494 last year versus 493 this year. Prices, though, still through the roof. Last month up 15.4% from 454 to 525. Year to date, North Myrtle Beach is up 20.0% from 450 to 5 almost $100,000 jump in terms of equity. If you're in Myrtle Beach and thinking about selling, you want to cash out now. You want to make sure you're kind of getting that scrape at the top, because in the micro market, you can watch other areas of beach kind of follow other ones. And I think you're going to see that soften just a little bit as rates continue to go up overall. Condos in North Myrtle up 29.7% last month. They're up 32.6% year to date in terms of prices, from 230 up to 305, which is awesome. Condo sales, though, year to date in North Myrtle Beach is down 14.9%. Little River, closed sales up August versus August, 12.9% in terms of price. Sales are also up 35.3% year over year. Closed sales year to date down 3.4%. But here's the deal: year to date prices in Little River up 31% right now, 371, 765, which is awesome. Condos, the same thing there. Condo prices up so far year to date 39.3% in Little River. And we've just seen people who've gotten priced out of the North Myrtle area, Cherry Grove area, have moved to Little River, which is why you're seeing that area grow big time. Loris and Longs, sales down 7.1% this year. So far, August versus August, year to date down 2.9%. Median price up 16.4% from 245 to 286. And that's just August versus August. Not that many condos there. Carolina Forest, closed sales last month only up 2.8%, which is interesting. Year to date sales in Carolina Forest down 4.5%. The good news is you're seeing the same thing there in terms of price as North Myrtle. Median price up 20% in August versus August at 358 versus 429, 913. And year to date, from 337 last year to 435 this year, up 29.1%. If I'm thinking about selling Carolina Forest, that's another one that you're seeing kind of cap out. You haven't seen any decline yet like you have in some areas. You may want to think about putting the house in the market there if you're looking to cash out in that area. Conway area, closed sales year to date down 12.9%, which is interesting there. Overall median price up 11.3% August versus August. Year to date prices, though, for Conway up 23.9%, which is awesome, from 230 even last year to 284, 957. Soxy area. Closed sales last month, August versus August, up 10%. Year to date, down 2.2%. Median price for Sockasee area, check this out. August versus August is up 23.1% at 337, 787. And year to date, Sockasee up 29.8% from 252 to 328, 170. Surfside, this is one that was interesting to me. This is that one decline I mentioned earlier. This is where I grew up. My mom has a house there. Surfside, August versus August, down 56.6%, which is crazy. So, for example, in August of 2021, there was 99 sales. August of this year, only 43 sales. Prices, though, up 18% August versus August. So, August, 315,000. August, 375, which is awesome. Year-to-date sales, though, this is what was interesting for me. Year-to-date sales for Surfside down 28.4%, where there's 605 last year, now only 433. The good news is price is still holding strong at 24.1% increase. So last year, 294,000. This year, 365,000 overall. So that's kind of the swing of the opposite you saw there on the north end. So you may want to think about cashing out there in Surfside as well. Garden City, Myrtle's Inlet, closed sales in August down 7.9% from the same month last year. Year-to-date sales also down 18.5%. Median sales price up 17.4% last month. And year-to-date, up 27.7% at 425,000. Even Pawleys Island, sales down last month 5.6%. Year to date, though, this is another interesting. Sales are down 30.0%. Price is still up, though, up 13.5% month versus month. Year to date, up 24% at 538, 978. Here's the deal. Some of that data, I don't really like using that data that much because it's not that real time. It's one of those data points that our MLS provides. I like using the real-time data because it doesn't show the last 2 and 3 month trend, which you're seeing it decline slightly. We've seen prices decline anywhere from between 8 to 11%, depending on area, if you're looking at month versus month in real time. And so make sure you have someone who can dig into that micro market data. But what it does tell me, we always know that price is a lagging indicator. So if I'm seeing sales down in terms of, obviously what's selling month versus month, I'm also seeing inventory continue to increase. I know that what's going to soften down the line is going to be price, and it's always lagging behind. So if you're thinking about selling, make sure you want to reach out to somebody pretty soon. If you're curious about it, reach out to me. We're getting a lot of people that are cashing out investment properties right now, getting lots and lots of money, a lot more than they ever thought, because they've had massive runs in terms of equity over the last 12, 24, 36 months. Also inherited properties. If you do one thing, just do one thing for me. Do not sell to some investor out there that's just offering pennies on the dollar. I see this happen every week, and we meet with people, thankfully. We have 2 success stories today. We're able to put lots more money in their pocket, one almost $50,000 more in their pocket versus what some investor had offered them. So if you want to know more about that, reach out, call me. Really quick, big news, interest rates. Last week's show for interest rates was 6.01%. Right now, it's 6.28%. So big jump in terms of pretty much a quarter point just in the last 7 days. So you're going to see buyers pump the brakes on that. We've seen a lot of investors already do that. I'm hoping it's going to come back down. Obviously, that came off big news this past week off the inflation being much higher than people thought it was going to be. 15-year fixed rate, 5.44%, which is up significantly. It's right there at the overall record, too, for the last 12 months. A 30-year jumbo loan, also hitting a new record, 5.55%. A 5-year adjust rate mortgage right now, 5.92%. A 30-year FHA is 5.55%, and a 30-year VA loan right now, 5.60%. And so here's the deal. Rates are going to go up, less buyers are going to buy. If you're thinking about selling, have anything you want to do, make sure you take advantage of 2 things right now. One, the seasonality of our market. We're still getting a lot of cash buyers coming in, and the good news is we're seeing a lot of migration, and inventory is still low. It's still technically a seller's market. If you look at months of supply, right now we have very low supply at 2.1 months. So you haven't seen it be flooded yet. It's going to help protect your price and get you the most amount of money. So if you want to know more how that works, don't wait. Just call me, 843-808-SOLD, or go to blakesloan.com today. Quick break, right back in a second.
WRNN listeners, Blake Travis here. As investors in real estate, Buck and I both know exactly what to look for to find the agent with the best tools and marketing to get the highest sales price possible for a home. Totally true, Clay. If you're in Myrtle Beach, that agent.
Hey, 2 minutes.
We'll go ahead and skip the Gary LeBox.
Good. How much time we have?
Get back, you're only going to have about
Get this, Blake,
a minute and a half to 2 minutes.
Okay, I'll do the quick success
Yeah,
story.
without the commercial.
Okay.
Since you know when your current home will sell
Thank you.
and for how much you can buy your next home without worrying about getting stuck with 2 mortgages. There's simply no other agent in the market who has a guarantee that will line up against what Blake Sloan can offer you. So when you're looking to sell and buy, he is your guy. Read nearly 750 5-star reviews by Googling Sloan Realty Group. Give Blake a call today and start packing. That's Sloan Realty Group. And tune in to Blake's shows Saturdays at 9 a.m. and Sundays at 11:30 a.m.
Welcome back to Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Time running out here. Hot buyers alert. My team now working with a ridiculous amount of home buyers looking to buy homes in the Myrtle Beach, Grand Strand area. $250,000 to $4.43 million right now. If you're thinking about selling, reach out, call us. 843-808-SOLD. It's 843-808-SOLD. One thing we do every week is we share our real active home buyers of how many we got. Been doing that for a long time. You probably listened to that go for years and years now. It keeps going up. Right now, 69,457 active home buyers. 69,457 active home buyers because we outspend the average agent 100 to 1 from a marketing standpoint. Literally 100 to 1 from a marketing standpoint. That's the difference between what we do versus anyone else. Why should you call me versus anyone else? I'm spending tens of thousands of dollars to bring buyers for your home before you ever pick up that phone to call me versus the agent on the street just waiting to put a sign in the yard. Right now, I have buyers from Illinois, Ohio, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Fort Bragg, North Carolina, Alabama, California, Maryland, Chicago, Illinois, right now searching this very second. So if you want to get top dollar for your home, reach out, call me today, 843-808-SOLD. We'll see you right here next week on the show.